This is Amal. She lives in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, and the city that's been my home for the last 7 years. When I moved here for work, Syria was a place to visit for a weekend. It was impossible then to think that a few years later I'd be spending much of my working life in places like these, documenting the lives of some of the estimated 2 million Syrians who have fled here from the war in their home country. As news of a violent repression of a growing protest movement began to slowly emerge from Syria, so too did the first refugees. Most were terrified of being photographed. The trickle quickly became a stream. Soon it was an intractable quagmire, a key contributor to the highest levels of displacement seen globally since the Second World War. Aid groups such as Oxfam and others rushed to react. I think I've covered this story almost 80 times since 2011, taking well over 50,000 photos. Yet it's still humbling every time a family who've just spent half an hour telling you about how they lost everything and have little opportunity to get it back, insist on making you coffee, or even lunch. These are the best moments. The poorest of those who fled to Lebanon from Syria live in informal settlements. Their homes are fragile. The wooden frames covered with old advertising hoardings or tarpaulin are cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and offer almost no privacy at all. Water is usually trucked in by aid groups. Electricity is a fleeting luxury. When working in these places, my main aim is to forge a connection between the people in my photos and those who will end up seeing them. Perhaps through a composition that catches your eye, or an expression that sparks your imagination. I want my photos to make you stop, to make you think, to make you act. Amal was just 6 when we first met in 2014, selling gum with her siblings late one night. She was jittery, jumpy, traumatized. Her sister told us they'd recently fled Damascus and each night had to stay out until they'd earned enough money to be allowed back home. It's unsettling to contemplate what might lay ahead for kids like Amal, or Namin here, when they're a bit older. The war in Syria has stolen the childhoods of a generation of kids. I'm always amazed by the resilience of the ones I meet, but occasionally the mask falls. Europe's sympathy has run out, yet the people fleeing the war in Syria need it now more than ever. It's easy to forget that behind the headlines are real people, just like any of us, trying to get by, who need help to fight the odds stacked against them.
Every single person has told me how they were crammed into a boat like this with their children who were screaming and crying and having absolutely no idea whether they were going to live or die. Oxfam is here providing clean water, sanitation, food and shelter to people who desperately need it.